Destiny Awaits, the podcast where you discover how to step into your identity. I'm your host, Andrea John, and I'm thrilled to embark on this journey of discovery with you. Each episode will explore profound insights and practical wisdoms drawn from stories, scriptures, and personal experiences. From unlocking your purpose to navigating the path toward your ideal vision, we'll uncover the threads that weave together autonomy, identity, purpose, and vision into the tapestry of your destiny. Together, we'll explore the nature of God and the essence of who you are, unveiling your destiny and igniting the spark of transformation. Whether you're seeking clarity, inspiration, or a roadmap to fulfill your calling, Destiny Awaits is your guide to living a life of purpose, passion, and profound impact. Join me as we embark on this empowering journey. Your destiny awaits, and it's time to unveil its magnificence. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Destiny Awaits podcast. I am your host, Andrea John, and I am so excited because over the next several weeks, we're going to have a little bit of a series focused on purpose. And we're going to dive deep into the aspect of God's nature, which is that He is creator. And just as He is creator, we are called to be creators as well. You have something that you are to create and to put out into the world. And in that is your purpose. So we're really going to dive deep into what that means and what that looks like. Today is going to be like an introduction to this topic of what we're going to explore. And the next several weeks, we're going to have guests on. These guests attended the Destiny Awaits retreat that we had, and they participated where we worked and learned about all the things that we're talking about in this podcast, but they also went deep into discovering their purpose, identifying their purpose, and developing what I call a purpose statement. There are many philosophies around purpose statements and different approaches to do it, but I'm going to share with you the approach that I take and that I have found useful, beneficial, and in line with the scriptures. But before we go there, let's just take a step back because I mentioned how God is creator. That is an aspect to the nature of God. So we've already talked about how God is love. And we've talked about how God is pure and holy. And we talked about how God is judge and what that means. Now we're going to focus on who God is as creator and who we are called to be as creators as well. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. We all know this passage. It's Genesis 1:2. The scriptures begin by revealing to us that God created the entire universe. And Genesis 1 and 2 are filled with such rich revelation. But oftentimes when we're taught about it, it's very much on a surface level. Whether it's preachings or teachings, there's not a lot out there that really dives deep. I mean, let me correct myself. There is, because I've been diving deep and I know that there are. But they're all from different perspectives. And I'm trying to understand within the aspect of creation what God wanted humanity to know through this story of creation that we have within Scripture. I've been studying the story of creation now for at least 4 years. That's right. Genesis 1 and 2. I've been studying it for 4 years, and it's incredible because just within those 2 chapters, I'm always learning something new. There's so much richness to it. And the reason it fascinates me, it's because it's the origin story of God's relationship with humanity. It's the origin story of the entire world and who we are. And I'm so fascinated by it because I feel like we've lost our way. And if we could just get back to the divine design, go back to the instructor's manual, how was all of this meant to be? we'd find a lot more clarity and have a lot more fulfillment in our life. God desired to have a family, and He created us. So we're going to talk a lot about that in this podcast. And the purpose of the creation of humanity, I believe, is for God to create a family. God imagined what humanity would look like, and He imagined what the world would look like. And what He did was He brought that to fruition. He purposed every single aspect, intricately designed every detail, and then He created what needed to be created in order to bring His purpose to life. So what we're going to do now really quick is look at the creation and the purpose that God had within each day. Again, like I said, oftentimes I feel like when we hear about the creation story, whether in a preaching or a teaching, it's done at a very surface level. And one of the things that I have learned is realizing that God had a purpose in His creation, and it is that purpose that drove creation. So we're going to dive deep into all of those things. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my Bible, and we are going to, hold on, because I have notes so I don't lose track. So don't mind me if you're seeing me on video, because now that I'm doing this on video, it's a little bit harder to look so clean, and I don't have a staff or a team doing these with me, so I'm kind of, it's not going to be as pretty, but the content is there. All right, so we're going to dive into the creation story, and I'm not going to take too long on each of the days because I believe that the point will be made, that there was a purpose in each day of creation. So the first one is found in Genesis 1:3, where it says, God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. God saw that the light was good, and He separated the light from the darkness. God called the light day, and the darkness He called night, and there was evening, and there was morning the first day. So the purpose of the first day wasn't light. It was to have day and to have night. And in order for God to accomplish that purpose, God brought forth light. Darkness was already there. He didn't bring the darkness. The darkness was already there. What He did was He brought light in, and then He separated the two, the light from the dark, to make day and to make night. I'm not going to get into it, but I want you to realize that He hasn't yet created the sun, moon, and the stars, which give light to the earth. We're going to talk about that when we get to that day. So just remember that it is God's light that came in and illuminated to make the day and the night. Okay, so now let's look at the next day. It says, "And God said, let there be a vault between the waters to separate the water from water. So God made the vault and separated the water under the vault from the water above it. And it was so. God called the vault sky, and there was an evening and there was a morning the second day." So basically the purpose on this day was God wanted to make a separation between the heavens and the waters. He wanted to separate them because they were kind of all together. So He separated it by creating space, and He called space sky. Okay, so space like above space. Now the next day it says, "And God said, let the water under the sky be gathered to one place, and let dry ground appear. And it was so. God called the dry ground land, and gathered the waters He called seas. And God saw that it was good." So on this day, God's purpose was to create dry ground that would sprout vegetation, trees, and plants. So to accomplish that purpose, what God did was He gathered all the waters together, creating dry ground that He called land, and seed-bearing plants that would reproduce. So that's what He created. But the ultimate purpose was so that there would be land for this vegetation. So the next day is, God said, Let there be lights in the vault of the sky to separate the day from the night, and let them serve as signs to mark sacred times and days and years, and let them be lights in the vault of the sky to give light on the earth. So the purpose of this day, what God was purposing, was time. He wanted to mark seasons, days, and years. And to do that, he created the sun, the moon, and the stars, and these lights in the sky would light up the earth and separate the day from the night. So the reason he created these lights in the sky to separate the day and the night was for the purpose of making time, making seasons, days, and years. And is that not how we measure time? By the days and the nights. So this is very distinct and different from the light that we talked about on the first day. Okay, so the next day says, and God said, let the water teem with living creatures and let birds fly above the earth across the vault of the sky. So God created the great creatures of the sea and every living thing which the water teems and that moves about in it according to their kinds, and every winged bird according to its kind. And God saw that it was good. So the purpose of this day was to fill the ocean and the air with life that reproduces its own kind. So what did God create? He created sea creatures to fill the waters, and he created birds to fill the air. So now let's move on and look at the next day, which is, let us make mankind in our image, in our likeness, so that they may rule over the fish in the sea and the birds in the sky, over the livestock and all the wild animals, and over all the creatures that move about the ground. So the purpose of this day was to fill the land with creatures that would reproduce their own kind. So he created animals that reproduced. And this included humans distinct from animals. So humans, I do not believe that humans are animals. Animals are its own kind. Humans are their own kind. And we were created to reign. Humans were created to reign over the fish and the animals and the birds of the air. So the purpose of this day was to create and fill the land with animals as well as with humans. And the purpose of the humans was to reign over the sea, the air, and the land. So what did God do? He created the animals. He created human beings. That accomplished his purpose. And the last day, it says, by the seventh day, God had finished the work he had been doing. So on the seventh day, he rested from all his work. Then God blessed the seventh day and made it holy, because on it he rested from all the work of creating that he had done. So what is the purpose of this day? This day is a day that is set apart from all other days. So what did God do? He rested and enjoyed his creation. So as you can see, every single day is marked by purpose. Purpose was the driving force of why God created what he created. So through scripture, we read stories of people who have worked and they have built things for God. They've built communities, they've built buildings, they've built ministries. Those are all creation. So I encourage you to see creation or being a creator, take it outside the box and realize that it's not just about being an artist. It's not just about making music. Everything in this world is a creation, and you are part of that creation, and you are called to create just as he creates. And within your role as creator, just as with God, purpose is your driving force. Purpose is what fulfills you. It's that thing that excites you. It gives you energy. And I'd ask you, do you know what your purpose is? Do you feel that you have found your purpose? In a simple sentence, can you tell me what your purpose is? I have found that more oftentimes than not, people don't know what their purpose is. And what that does is it causes us to kind of live life blindly, unintentionally. And then we find ourselves down roads or positions or situations that we didn't want to get to. But what I'm here to do is help you find your purpose. Okay, so before I move on to sharing with you what purpose is and why it matters and what to expect over the next few weeks, I want to read a passage in Proverbs 25. And I'm going to read it in 3 different translations. As I've mentioned, I'm very big into context. And the reality is that translations are an interpretation of the original. And everyone has a little bit of a different take. Sometimes it's very, very similar. Sometimes it's a little something that's different. But it's that little something that's different in some translations that really bring it to life. It makes sense. So I'm going to read 3, and hopefully one of them pops out to you or gives you an aha moment. Proverbs 25. It says, this is from the NIV. The purposes of a person's heart are deep waters, but one who has insight draws them out. So that's a version that, to me, some people would look at it, especially if you're not a poetic person and you're like, what? So let me read it again. The purposes of a person's heart are deep waters, but one who has insight draws them out. So when I read this, what I'm looking at is that within you is purpose, and that purpose is really deep. It's like, think about an ocean. It's so vast, it's so grand. But if you have a person who has insight, who has revelation, they can help you draw your purpose to the surface. They can draw that purpose out of you. And that's what that person with insight has. That's the way I read it. So I went and I looked at it in 2 other translations, well, a few more, but I'm going to read 2 others that helped kind of bring that imagery together, because I wanted to make sure that I was reading this passage within context and accurately. So the Passion Translation reads, a man of deep understanding will give good advice, drawing it out from the well within. So to me, I kind of see that as the same concept. A person who has deep understanding will help draw the good advice that is already within you. You already have what you need within you, and someone with deep understanding can help draw it out, help bring it to the surface. And lastly, the Amplified Version says, a plan, and then in parentheses it says, motive or wise counsel in the heart of a man is like water in a deep well, but a man of understanding draws it out. So again, same concept. There's a plan in your heart, and it's like a deep well. It can be a little overwhelming, can maybe need some help, but someone who has understanding can help draw out those plans. I have received a revelation of how important purpose is and how it drives you. I have learned intimately about this topic. I have taken several classes about purpose from numerous different perspectives. And what I have discovered is that I have a gift to listen to your story and be able to draw out what your purpose is. Whether you know it or not, you know your purpose. And what I have the ability to do is, through your story, is to identify that purpose, to help draw it out so that you can see it within you. Now, purpose is something that gives you direction. Purpose is what drives you. I see it like it's what's at the wheel. It's what gives direction to the car. Vision, we'll talk about vision well into the future, which is kind of funny to say, but we'll talk about vision in the future. But vision is a future destination. It's where you're headed to. But purpose is your present and what sets your direction. And it's what's going to give you fulfillment on a daily basis. I see purpose as a filter. It helps me filter all my decisions. Everything that I'm going through, I look at through the lens of what is my purpose. And when I do that, it helps me make decisions. And when I'm in a difficult situation where it's kind of mucky and hard to see, believe it or not, my purpose has allowed me that when I'm in that and everything seems confusing, I can actually go back to my purpose and find a way through using it as a filter for the decisions and the choices that I have to make. That what it does is it allows me to align with my life's purpose. It allows me that even in that difficult situation, if I align my choices to my purpose, no matter how difficult the situation is, I feel fulfilled. Because purpose gives us a great sense of fulfillment. Have you ever had a day where you did something that you absolutely love? You just had so much joy in that day, and you went to bed, you laid your head on your pillow, and you felt that great sense of fulfillment. Have you ever had that? That's what I'm talking about. Living that every single day. Every day, lying your head down, knowing that day you did everything you could to live your purpose and contribute to your vision of the future. It's so powerful. Did you know that when your decisions, your actions, what you do, who you are aligns with your purpose, that it releases serotonin and dopamine? Those are feel-good hormones that we need to keep us happy. It's why purpose gives us such fulfillment. It's so important. And this is the reason that when you do have a day where you've aligned what you're doing and your choices with your purpose, you feel fulfilled and you feel energized. It's because you're getting flooded with these serotonin and dopamine hormones, and it makes you feel great. Is that not something that you want to experience? Now, don't get me wrong. There are going to be days that are hard. There are going to be situations in our lives that are not easy. And I'm not saying that you're going to lie your head down every night and be ecstatic about life. I've had days that are really hard. But one thing that I have is peace. And part of the reason I have such peace is because I am living my purpose. And because of that, I do feel fulfilled, even when my days and my circumstances aren't quite the happiest. How can I help you find your purpose? I use storytelling. Storytelling is something that's used to connect human beings. Stories are so natural for us, and it helps us describe situations, events, and people. And when you do that, it's an easy way to communicate. Stories are easy that way. It allows you to articulate your heart. So through the process of storytelling, I can listen and be able to tell you what your purpose is through your stories. Now, of course, the stories that we would discuss and that you would tell me would be very intentional. It's with an intention of helping me discover your purpose. So it's not just any story. The stories that you would tell me would be the ones of those days, like I had mentioned, where you felt fulfilled. You went to bed that day completely ecstatic, filled with excitement. You had such hope for the future. If you could relive that day again, you would totally relive that day. And you know what? These stories don't have to be monumental events. They could even be a day when you were a kid and something simple happened. Maybe you got a toy that just, man, if you could live that day again, you so would. You would want that toy all over again. Something simple like that. If you told me that story, I'd be able to hone in on what your purpose is. Because through that story, if you tell it authentically, I'm going to be able to hear your heart through it. That's why storytelling is so powerful. Over the next few weeks, you're going to hear stories of women who went to the ladies' retreat that I hosted and discovered their purpose. Now, what's amazing is that I asked them all if any of them would like to share what about the retreat they enjoyed on the podcast. And everyone said the same thing. purpose. They want to share what creating a purpose statement did for them and how much it blessed them and how much it has changed their life. How waking up every morning knowing their purpose statement has allowed them to filter their choices and their actions so that they can rest their head every night knowing that they have lived out their purpose for that day. And my hope is that by you hearing these amazing ladies share their stories, that it can help draw you into discovering what your purpose is. Now, what's funny is what my purpose is actually purpose. My purpose is to encourage and empower others to live their purpose so that they can live their best life. So I'm here to help you find your purpose because I believe it's going to give you direction and it's going to help you step into the destiny that awaits. Your destiny is right here. It's right now. You don't have to go chasing for it. There's no magic pill. It's right here waiting for you. And the key is finding your purpose. And I want to help you do that. So what I'm going to be offering is a service to help you find your purpose. I am starting a consulting business where I can help you find your purpose. And we'd meet together and we'd walk through that storytelling process, and I will help you identify, find, and write your personal purpose statement. This statement will help you give some direction to your life and help you see the world in a completely different way that allows you to not only lie down every night knowing that you have fulfilled your purpose for the day, but wake up every morning excited to live life. Does that not sound amazing? Who doesn't want to be excited to live life? I know that I do, and I want that for you. Life may be tough right now. I get it. Trust me, life is not easy for me at the moment. But I wake up every day excited to live life because I know what my purpose is. And in the smallest action, in the smallest situation, in the smallest way, I can live my purpose. It doesn't always have to be massive action. It doesn't always have to be something grand. And it doesn't always have to be something that everyone knows. Sometimes it's just you, knowing that you gave someone a smile that day that led them to having a better day. Knowing that you called somebody up that you wanted to stay connected to because connections is part of your purpose. And that's what I want to help you create. So if you're interested in finding your personal purpose and you don't know what it is, you can reach out to me, we can connect, and we can have a consulting session where I can help you discover your purpose and write your personal purpose statement. After that comes creating an action plan. It involves creating a vision statement as well, but the very first step is purpose, and purpose is the driving factor. I feel like if we start off with purpose and we start our days looking at that as a filter and saying, okay, when I wake up in the morning, I am excited because this is my purpose, and somehow this day I'm going to find a way to make every decision align with this purpose. It sets us off down the right road. And then we take it from there. So it's one bite-sized chunk at a time. And I want to help you do that because I want you to live a life where you're thriving. I want you to live a life where you're excited. So I'm really so happy about the next few weeks because I think it's going to be a game changer, not only for you, but for me too, to hear these stories that these women have, such extraordinary people, human beings who have a strong and magnificent purpose in life that now they've identified and they can wake up and do that and contribute to the betterment of the world, contribute to bringing heaven on earth, to expanding the kingdom of God, because that's what happens when we live our purpose. We expand the kingdom of God. We bring heaven on earth because we are living the life that God created us to live. So if this is something that you are looking for, if this is something that's like, this is what I've been needing, stay tuned. Make sure that you're subscribed. Make sure that you like. Make sure you comment. If you have questions, please send them over because I'd be more than happy to answer your questions. the best thing you can do right now is just follow. And, if you want to support this podcast, if you want to support my ministry, if you want to support this new business venture that I have, the best thing you can do is share it and follow along. But really, I want you to realize what's in it for you. What's in it for you is to find a life that you thrive in, to find a life that you are excited about, to find a life where at the end of the day, you lay your head down and you know you did everything that you possibly could to live your purpose. There is no better feeling in the world. I promise you that. So hang on for this journey, guys, because I am on it with you. I'm so excited about what's to come and the guests that are going to come on the show. I think you're going to be so blessed by them and possibly find some messages of hope and glimmers of hope and examples of purpose that'll help get those wheels turning and get you on the road to creating your purpose. So that's it for this episode. Thank you so much for being here with me, for supporting the podcast and the ministry. I don't even know how to end this because, like I said, my purpose is purpose. So the fact that I've finally reached this point in understanding my purpose and using the ministries and the platforms that I have to help you find your purpose is so extremely fulfilling to me. It excites me. It just fills me with so much feel-good stuff. So as you can tell, the serotonin and all that stuff is running through my body right now. So, but that's it for today. I'm so excited. So I already have some guests lined up to share their stories about the retreat, what they learned and how it impacted their lives. And it's going to be a good way for you to get a feeling of what the consulting services that I provide will offer you, for you to get a sense of, is it worth it? Is it not worth it? But at a minimum, it's going to get your wheels turning and get you to think about different areas in your life and what your purpose could possibly be. So that in itself is very exciting. I think I've used the word exciting a lot today, but again, it's my purpose. So I want you to be this excited every day as well. Thank you for joining me on this episode of Destiny Awaits. I hope the insights shared today have resonated with you and inspired you to take meaningful steps towards your destiny. Remember, your life is a journey. Embrace the challenges, celebrate the victories, and stay committed to living a life that reflects the image and likeness of God. If you enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe to Destiny Awaits on your favorite podcast platform or YouTube and leave a review. Your feedback fuels our mission to empower and encourage others like you on their path to living their best life. Until next time, keep shining bright and living your destiny. This is Andrea signing off from Destiny Awaits. Take care and remember, your destiny awaits.